Sri Krishnarpanam Astu Shubham Bhuyat Vasudeva Sudam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Are you? Last week we were looking at chapter 11, verse number 33. So this is a very beautiful verse, as we saw last week. There's a very important message for all of us. And here it is because Arjuna went through different emotions when he saw the Vishwarupa Darshanam. As you know, Vishwarupa Darshanam means a devotee has reached that level of devotion whereby he sees the entire world, the entire creation as a manifestation of the Lord. So everything he sees in the world, whatever he sees, appears divine to him. So the world is just different aspects of the Lord appearing. Just like gold is made into different ornaments. We have ring, bangle, bracelet, necklace, etc. But to a goldsmith, when he sees all these various ornaments, to him he realizes that the essence of all these ornaments is nothing but gold, right? So in the same way, a devotee who has reached these heights of devotion, who is so much immersed in his bhakti or love or devotion for the Lord, whatever he sees in the world, it only looks to him as divine. So Arjuna saw this Vishwarupa Darshanam, and he saw all the glorious things in the creation, all the beautiful things in creation, and he was very happy, very mesmerized. But then he also saw that this world, not only there is growth, there is also death. There is victory, there's also loss. So when he saw the more disastrous part of the world, death, destruction, he couldn't handle it. And then he starts to question the Lord, actually, who are you? Because all the while we think of God as loving, kind, compassionate. Then how come, Lord, you are also the very same God who is so loving, so kind, so compassionate? At the same time, you're also responsible for all the destruction that's going on. How is that possible? So the Lord explained in verse 32 that right now on the battlefield, where millions of soldiers are going to die, I have a role to play. What is that role? I am Kala Devta. Kala has got two meanings. Kala can mean time, and Kala can also mean death. So here Lord says, I am playing the role of the Lord of death, because there are many people who are going to die, and I have to see to that destruction. Just like I see to creation, I see to preservation, I also will have to handle the destruction. So all these three, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, are the three powers of the Lord. So the Lord, when he has to play the role of destruction, he plays it equally well. So now in this next verse, since we understand that whatever is happening in this world, good or bad, victory, defeat, profit, loss, whatever is happening, it is the Lord's hand is behind it. So now in the next verse 33, Krishna wants to explain to Arjuna that what should you do? You think that you are going into this battle, you think that you are killing all these soldiers, but that is not the fact. You should understand the reality of life. So what does he tell Arjuna in verse 33? He says, Tasmat, therefore. So here a very important lesson is that we have a very limited understanding about our actions. We feel that we are in total control of our action and the result. But most often than not, that is not what happens, right? And it is only our ego that misleads us into thinking that we are in control of everything in this life. every action, every result we can control. Now, there is a difference between setting a goal and surrendering the goal to the Lord. What is the difference in that? You see, it does not mean that just because we cannot control the outcome of our actions, that means we say, I don't set a goal in life. It is important to set a goal. But what is the difference between setting a goal and surrendering that goal to the Lord? What is the difference? Do you understand my question? Now, what is the difference? If God is going to determine everything, then why should I even bother to set any goals in my life? I just leave it to God. But then we know that also cannot happen. We have to set some goals in our life. So, what is the difference when we set a goal in our life and we surrender that goal to the Lord? The difference is this. When I perform the action, of course, I expect a positive result, isn't it? But if the result is always positive, whatever I do, everything is success, 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 what happens? The ego sets in, right? Arrogance sets in. You start looking down on people. Yeah, everything I do is success. You are a failure. I am a success. So when success sets in to all our actions, ego arises. And what happens when there is failure? What we expect doesn't happen, the opposite happens. Then what? How does it affect us? We get depressed, angry, dejected. So when we set a goal is fine, but most important, we must not be affected by the outcome of the goal. That is most important. So that's why in the earlier chapter also Krishna said, Samatvam, use the word Samatvam. Samatvam means you should be equal-minded. You must know how to handle success. You must know how to handle failure. So you have to keep yourself well balanced. And the only way you can do that is surrender the results to the Lord. That means I set a goal, but whatever happens, I leave it to God, whether He makes it a success or whether He doesn't make it a success. So this is the important lesson that Krishna wants to tell here in this verse 33. He says, Tasmat, therefore, Arjuna, what should you do? The first most important lesson in life here is Tvam Utishta. May you arise, may you wake up. May you arise, may you wake up means first at least take up all the challenges and duties in your life. Do not run away from your duties and challenges. What happens when you run away from your duties and challenges? Supposing you find this work, which is your duty, very unpleasant, you want to avoid it, you run away from it. What happens? In some way or the other, the same problem will come back to you again. You cannot run away from it. So the first lesson in life is Tvam Tishta. You rise. Take up all the challenges of your life. Take up all your duties. Don't run away from your duties. And what is the duty of Arjuna on the battlefield as a Kshatriya, as a warrior, is to uphold dharma. That is the duty of a warrior. Uphold dharma and destroy adharma. So he's telling Arjuna, don't look upon this battle as a battle between relatives. It is not some relatives fighting against other relatives. It is a battle, it is dharma yudh. It is a battle to protect dharma and to suppress adharma. So he's telling Arjuna, you rise up and do your duty. And what is the benefit if you do your duty? He's saying, labaswa yasa. You will gain fame. How will you gain fame? Jitva shatrun. You will, by defeating your enemies, your shatrus, you will gain fame. So there is nothing for you to lose. So the Lord is in fact telling Arjuna that this battle is going to be in your favor. So you shouldn't worry about it. Number one. Number two, when you win this battle, Bhungshwa, you will get back, you will enjoy Rajam, your kingdom. You will get back the kingdom which was wrongfully snatched away from you by the Kauravas. And what type of kingdom? It is not just an ordinary kingdom. Hastinapura is Samudram. Krishna says it is a prosperous kingdom. It is a wonderful kingdom that you and your family and your brothers have built up, and it was illegally snatched away from you. That's why some people say actually Bhagavad Gita is a land dispute. It was a fight about property, isn't it? Because it was basically to get back what was wrongly snatched away from them. So now the message is here. Arise, do your duty, don't run away from your duties. Now comes the next part of the action. So he tells Arjuna, Ete, these warriors who are assembled on the battlefield, who are opposing you on the Kaurava side, Nihita, they have already been slain. And here he uses a very beautiful word, my eva. Maya means me, have been slain by me, the Lord is saying. But he adds in the word eva. Eva here means me alone. So I alone am responsible for who lives and who dies on this battlefield. Arjuna, you are not responsible for who lives or dies on this battlefield. Only the Lord has the power to decide who survives and who doesn't survive. So my eva. And when have I already killed these warriors? Purvam eva. Even before the battle began, their fate was already sealed. Even before they came to the battlefield, I had already decided who's going to die, who's going to live. So what should you do now? That you know that it is the Lord who is going to decide who lives or who dies on the battlefield. Then he gives us another beautiful message in how to handle all our actions. He says, Bhava, may you be Nimitra Matram. Always consider yourself as Nimitra Matram, as an instrument in my hands. So discharge all your actions. Don't let that ego, that anger, that greed, that pride come into you. Consider every action you are performing, whether it is a worldly action, whether it's a spiritual action, always consider yourself as an instrument in the hands of the Lord. So the ego gets sublimated, the ego gets dissolved. The minute we surrender and consider ourselves as an action, as an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Okay. So the two important messages have been given to us. Uttishta, may you arise and meet all the challenges in your life. Don't run away from your duties. And Nimitra Matram Bhava. Always consider yourself as the instrument in the hands of the Lord. Now, what happens when you consider yourself as an instrument in the hands of the Lord? You see, if you perform the action backed by ego, what happens? In every action, there are three components. There is the thought before the action, there is the action itself, and there is the result of the action. So when the thought of the action, the motivating factor of the action is ego, and you perform the action, and let's say the action is to your benefit, what is the biggest problem that happens after that? What is the problem that happens? What happens? Ego becomes bigger, true, but you get a karma phalam, right? You expected something from your action, that thing happened, there is a karma phalam. That means you have to, it can be punyam, it can be papam. You have a residue, a result from your action. And because of this punyam and papam, you have to take another birth and another birth and another birth. But when you surrender your actions to the Lord, when the action, you perform the action, there is no punyam, there is no papam. Your punyam and papam is all exhausted. So which part of your karma are you burning up? Out of the three type of karma, sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, and agami karma. Which karmas are you burning up here? Huh? No, prarabdha you have to go through. Sanchita you can't do anything. Agami karmas. You don't create any new agami karmas. So there is no punyam, there is no papa. Because our problem is not only we are carrying the old karmas, and in this life we start creating new karmas again. We need to stop that creation of new karmas. So because of that, our attitude to action must be very important. The minute any action is done with ego, with jealousy, with pride, there is a karma phalam. And because of the karma phalam, you have to take another birth. But when you surrender the very same action to the Lord, considering yourself as an instrument, there is no punyam, there is no papa. So there is no agami karma. Okay? And that is in our hands, is in our control. Whereas prarabdha is not in your control. You cannot do anything about it. Sanchita, you have already performed those actions. There's nothing you can do about it. But agami, you can control. Okay? So he tells Arjuna, Nimitta Matram Bhava. And then he addresses Arjuna with a very beautiful name. He calls Arjuna as Savya Sachin. Savya Sachin means left-handed archer, the one who fires bows from his left hand. So what is trying to tell Arjuna, whether you fire the bow from your left hand or from your right hand, it doesn't matter. Because Arjuna was such a great archer that he could shoot the arrow from his right or from his left hand and it will hit the target. So he's telling Arjuna, it doesn't matter whether you shoot from your left hand or from your right hand. Whatever it is, I've already predetermined whether that person is going to live or going to die. So don't take that action upon yourself. Don't think that you are the doer of everything. Just surrender everything to the Lord also. So now the important thing to understand by being an instrument in the Lord's hands, as I told you last week also, what about free will? So we are always told that you have free will. You can choose what you want to do in this life. You have a choice over your actions. Do you have or don't have a choice? You have a choice, right? So then what does it mean by if I have free will, I can choose my action? So what is the difference between surrendering that action to the Lord? What is the difference? The difference is this: when I use my free will and perform the action according to dharma, then I become an instrument in the hands of the Lord. By following dharma, I choose my free will to follow dharma, perform my actions according to dharma. That means I become an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Now, if you perform action and you don't choose the path of dharma, then what motivates your action? Either dharma will motivate your action. If I don't choose dharma to motivate my action, what will motivate my action? Besides ego. How? I'm sorry? Likes and dislikes. Raga, dvesha. This is what motivates us to perform our action. I like to do this, then I'll do it. I don't like to do it, I don't do it. Now, what is the problem of performing actions based on raga, dvesha, likes and dislikes? What is the problem? If I choose all my actions based on what I like and dislike, what is the biggest problem? Or let me put it another way. What is the correct way then to perform actions if I don't choose my likes and dislikes? What should guide my actions besides being an instrument in the hands of the Lord? What should guide my actions? Huh? Okay, let's leave dharma aside. Dharma is there, but make it more simpler for you. I should choose whether I perform the action not because of my likes and dislikes, but what is right or wrong. That is dharma. You see, when I choose my actions based on what is right or wrong, then that is following the path of dharma. So I know it is wrong to lie, right? If I choose not to lie, that means I'm following dharma. But I know if I tell the lie, I can get out of the situation. So which one should I choose? You see my point? I know if I tell a lie, I can get away, I can get scot-free from the situation. But is it right or wrong? So now you are at a crossroads. You have a choice to make. Do I tell a lie and get out of the situation? Or do I follow Dharma and tell the truth? But I have to face the music. Which part should I choose? Huh? Depends on the situation. So you have to choose. That is a choice we have to make, right? Whether I want to follow right or wrong, or whether I want to follow uh, likes and dislikes. Okay. So here what the Lord is saying, Nimita matram bhava. When you consider yourself as an instrument in my hands, you will always choose the path of Dharma. You will not violate Dharma. And you will have to face the music. Because just like all the saints and sages, when they tried to walk the path of truth, there was a lot of obstacles. There were many hindrances to their path. They suffered also. But they chose to stick to the truth also. Okay? No, no, the free will is you can choose or not to choose. I mean, I can choose the path of Dharma. Uh, Arjuna chose the path of Dharma. Duryodhan chose the path of Adharma. So we have the right to choose. We have the free will to choose. That is where we must apply. Whereas animals, insects, etc., don't have the right to choose. We have the right to choose. Right? You want to steal, you don't want to steal, do you have a choice? Yes. You want to tell a lie, don't want to tell a lie, do you have a choice? Yes. You want to come to Gita class, don't want to come to Gita class, do you have a choice? Yes, you have a choice. Okay. Now, the other thing very important to understand is, huh, Arjuna's case is he has to kill because he is a soldier. That's his duty to uphold dharma. Just like a policeman, if he sees a robber going into a bank with a gun, he has a choice to shoot the robber to protect the innocent because that's his duty. But you cannot take your gun, go to your neighbor's house and shoot him. That is not your duty, right? So Arjuna's case is it is his duty because if a soldier doesn't uphold dharma, then who will uphold dharma, right? So what is basically we are trying to get at? If it is your duty, you do it. Then the consequences are there, and you won't face the karma palam because you did it as your duty. Okay. Second thing to important to note is many people say the planets determine our fate. The planets determine our fate. Is that true? Is that true? Just think, you have already committed the action. The karma palam is already there. Prarabdha karma is there. So how can the planet determine your action, determine your results, or determine your fate? So therefore, what is the planet? Why do they read the planets to tell you about your future? The planets can only indicate what is already in your future. So the planets are an indication of what is going to happen to you, but they do not influence what is going to happen to you. That is most important to remember that. So by reading the charts, we can tell that at a certain age, you're going to face some kind of financial problems or some kind of health problems. They indicate what's going to happen. They don't influence what is going to happen. That is the difference. So there are certain, once you know that certain things might happen to you, there are certain, of course, prayers and what we call these tapas, austerities that you can keep to try to mitigate to try to soften that. So depending on the past action, how heavy was the action, depending on what kind of austerities you perform, can lighten the severity of that action. But there are cases when you cannot do anything because that action has been so terrible, so heavy that you cannot change the course of the action. Then what do you do? Then what do you do? Accept it with how? With prayers, by surrendering to the Lord. The best example always given is if you have to drive a car through a road which is very bumpy, you cannot avoid, that's the only road you can take to your destination. So you have to go through all the bumps in the life in the road. So what do? You make sure you have good shock absorbers. So what is prayer? Prayer is your shock absorber on things that you cannot change in your life. What you can change, you change. What you cannot change, except by surrendering to the Lord. So these are the few things that we should understand. Yes, yes.
There is such a thing as daily hora.
Daily what?
Hora, H-O-R-A.
H-O-R-A, hora.
So
Okay.
in the day, starting from 7 a.m., actually it's 24 hours.
Okay.
So there is a planet that influences every hour.
Okay.
And that planet has its own characteristic.
Okay.
So if it's Saturn, there's a certain characteristic with the moon and all that.
Right.
So if, according to this reading, there are certain activities if you do in a, let's say, a Rahu period,
Okay.
you will have a lot of obstacles.
Okay.
During that activity.
Right.
But if you do it in one of those milder planets, then your activity will go.
Won't have obstacles.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that is something that I am observing only.
Okay.
But it seems suitable because some of the planets are very fiery, so you can become very aggressive during that period.
Okay.
Go and deal with people.
Right.
So they do have some influence
on our mind.
For us, yeah.
What do you call it? Hora, H-O-R-A.
H-O-R-A. You can
Okay.
go to the internet.
Check it out.
Look for daily hora.
Okay.
And you can plan your day and try it out.
Okay. Okay. New, good information.
Yeah, interesting anyway.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now that he has told Arjuna about this, how to perform every action by doing your duty and surrendering to the Lord. So in the next verse 34, now he tells him what to do now. He says, you just Tvam Jahi, you just go ahead, do your duty and fight these soldiers and kill them. Understanding that Maya Hatam, I have already killed them. I have already determined who is going to live and die on this battlefield. So he's assuring Arjuna, Ma Vyatishta, don't be afraid, don't grieve. Because we saw Arjuna, how much he was grieving, how much he was upset at having to shoot arrows into all his beloved gurus and relatives. And he wants to assure Arjuna that you will not incur any sin at all by killing these people. Okay. So now he tells him that you just kill all your enemies in this battle. And who are the enemies? He particularly points out 4 names here. So who are the 4 names? Dronam, Bhishma, Jayadratha, and Karna. Now, interestingly, if you look at his 4 names, 2 names are those which Arjuna did not want to kill. He was very hesitant, he was very reluctant to shoot arrows into them. Who are the 2? Drona and Bhishma. And the other 2, Jayadratha and Karna, he would have happily shot arrows into them. So 2 he was not very happy to kill, 2 he was very happy to kill them. So he particularly brings out these names, and all these there are, of course, as you read the Mahabharata, you know the background of these people. Jayadratha was married to the blind king Dhritarashtra, had only one daughter, and her name was Dushala. So Jayadratha was married to her, and this Jayadratha was the king of a kingdom known as Sindhu, and he was a very cruel person also. So Arjuna was prepared to kill him also, and Arjuna did kill him on the 14th day of the battle. So Arjuna does kill this Jayadratha. Then we have Karna, as we know, is a sworn enemy of Arjuna. Right? He did a lot of atrocities to the Pandavas. And not only that, Karna also killed Arjuna's son, Abhimanyu, in the battlefield in a very, not in a very correct way. So he cheated and he killed him. So, and Arjuna finally managed to kill Karna on the 17th day of the battle also. Dronacharya was the guru who taught warfare to both the Pandavas and the Kauravas, but due to certain circumstances, although he loved the Pandavas more, he had to stand on the side of the Kauravas. And Dronacharya also was killed on the 15th day of the battle. Bhishma Pita, again, he had a lot of fondness for Arjuna and for the Pandavas, but because of circumstances, he had to be on the side of the evil Kauravas. And who killed him on the 10th day of the battle? It was no other than Arjuna. Of course, he did not die. He lay on the bed of arrows until the 18th day when the whole battle was finished. Then he gave some advice to Yudhishthira and then he finally left his body. So all these four names Krishna is mentioning particularly, not only these four names, he says, not only should you fight and kill these four people, but he says, Tatha also, Anyan api, and other Yodha Viryan. There are many other mighty warriors also on the opposite side. You also have to fight and kill these people. So he's telling Arjuna, don't be afraid, go ahead and fight. Now, then that brings us to verse number 35. So now you notice in 35 now, who starts speaking? Arjuna is no more speaking, he's silent. Krishna also doesn't say anything. Now Sanjaya starts to describe something. There is a change of attitude that is happening in Arjuna now. So we will see now in the very next verse 36 onwards, when Arjuna starts speaking, these are very beautiful prayer verses. Every evening when we do the Sandhya Arti here, the Panditji will recite these verses from 36 up to verse number 44. Okay? These are very beautiful prayer verses which we can learn how to offer our prayers. It covers a lot of things: forgiveness from the Lord, gratitude to the Lord, surrender to the Lord. So everything is covered in these prayer verses. Okay. So now Sanjaya wants to describe the emotions that Arjuna is going through. Okay. As he's coming now to the third emotion, the first was emotion of wonder, then was the emotion of fear, now comes emotion of devotion. Okay. So what does Sanjaya say in verse number 35? He says, Arjuna Srutva, Arjuna having heard Vachanam Keshava, he heard the words, the comforting words of Keshava, that is Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna has assured him, Lord Krishna has given him confidence. Arjuna has heard that Lord is playing three roles: creator, preserver, and destroyer also. Okay. So Arjuna here is described by Sanjaya as Kiritinam. Kiritinam means the one who wears the jewel crown on the head, as Arjuna himself was of royalty also. So he's addressing Arjuna by that name. And what was Arjuna's condition when he heard these words of advice, comfort, and support from Krishna? He says Arjuna was Vepamana. He was trembling. Trembling with what? Not with fear anymore now. He was trembling with reverence. He understood now the role that Krishna was playing. And what does he do? Namaskritva. He salutes, he bows down to this Lord Krishna. And how does he bow down? Not only does he bow down, but the word here used is Kritanjalir. Kritanjalir means when we put our left and our right hands together in prayer. And this is a very powerful mudra. It is known as the Anjali mudra. Okay, it is a mudra by itself. So what is the significance when we pray? I think I mentioned to you in some previous class also that when we are joining the left and the right hands together, we are merging our emotional mind with the intellect. So we have, our mind has got how many parts? How many parts has your mind got? First of all, how many minds have you got? Huh? How many minds? You have one mind, but you got four parts in the mind. Do you know that? What are the four parts? Buddhi, yes. Intellect, Next, Chitta, which is the memory bank. Manas, which is the emotional mind. And Ahankar, the ego. So Manas, Chitta, Buddhi, Ahankar. So your mind, you have one mind, but there are four parts of the mind. Manas, what we call is mind, actually means emotional mind. Emotional mind is that which gives in to the likes and dislikes. Then you have a higher mind, which is called the buddhi or the intellect, that should control your emotional mind. Intellect is right and wrong. Remember what I said earlier? We should live our lives by right and wrong, not by likes and dislikes. So intellect should always control the manas. Then you have two more aspects of your mind, which is chitta, which is a memory bank. So as sometimes you think, past memories also come flooding into your mind also. That affect or influence your decisions also. And the fourth is the ego, the ahankar. Okay. Now, ahankar here means identification with this body, which brings in the pride, the arrogance, etc. Okay. So when we join the two palms together, the left and right, what you're doing is you're merging the emotional mind, manas, with the buddhi, the intellectual mind. So it is a very powerful mudra when you are feeling depressed, when you're feeling confused, agitated, your mind is agitated, just sit in a corner, bring these two palms together and sit quietly. So this is a very powerful mudra to calm your mind down. And that's why we use this in prayer, okay, Anjali Mudra. So to Arjuna, the word is used here, Kritanjalir. He joined his palms together, offering his salutations to the Lord. And as I told you, this Anjali Mudra can be held in three positions. One is at your heart level, one is at your third eye level, right? In between the eyebrows, and one is at the head level, which is the Sahasrara Chakra. That is the ultimate chakra by which your soul should leave the body, which means then it will reach salvation. Okay. So there are three levels of chakra which we can hold our hands. That's why you see some people pray like this, or like that, or like that. Either way, it's okay, it's fine. Okay. So now bowing down to the Lord, joining his palms together, what does Arjuna do? He Krishnam, he addresses he bows down. Bhuya, again and again, his devotion now, Arjuna's devotion has reached the heights. He's so thrilled, he's so what we call lost in his sense of devotion, that the word Bhuya means again and again he keeps bowing down to the Lord, again and again he keeps paying his salutations to the Lord. Okay. And then he wants to speak now, but his voice is Sagad Gadam. Sagad Gadam means his voice is faltering with emotion. Okay. And he now starts to speak to Krishna. He wants to say something to Krishna, and these are the beautiful devotional verses. Now, before we go into the devotional verses, there are some things we need to understand. In this chapter 11, all the three sadhanas are described here. What are the three sadhanas? Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga. All these three sadhanas are contained in this chapter 11. They are highlighted, where if you look at verse 33 that we looked at just now, that one word which I told you, Nimitta Matram Bhava, may you be an instrument in my hands. Which yoga is this? Karma Yoga. Perform all your actions by considering yourself as an instrument in the hands of the Lord. So this one, verse 33, with just one word, Nimitta Matram Bhava, is our path of Karma Yoga. How we should discharge all our actions, okay, as an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Then we'll come to another verse, verse number 40, which is on the page 221. Okay, 221. This verse 40 highlights the path of Jnana Yoga. Okay, so this is the emphasis on Jnana Yoga. Why we say this verse is dealing with Jnana Yoga? Because Jnana Yoga is when the devotee reaches the height when he sees the Lord everywhere. So this verse, he says, I see you, Lord, from all sides, left, right, front, back, everywhere I see nothing but your presence. So this is Jnana Yoga, the highest level that you can go to. And then, if you look at verse 44, which is on page 223, page 44, this highlights the essence of Bhakti Yoga, the, the path of devotion. Because here he is bowing down, prostrating before the Lord and surrendering to the Lord. So this verse 44 reflects the path of Bhakti Yoga. So as we come to these verses, we will see that in detail. So now let us keep in mind verses 15 to 22. Arjuna went through a sense of bewilderment, Vishmayo. That means he was so excited, so elated when he saw all the wondrous things in this creation as divine. Then verses 23 to 31, he had a sense of bhayam, of fear, when he realized that this world, the Lord is also the destroyer, is destroying everything in this world. So now is the third stage that Arjuna is going through, which is the sense of devotion, having surrendered to the Lord. So we will now look at these verses, number 30, 36, when Arjuna starts to speak from 36 to 44. Okay? So what does he say here? He says, Rishikesha, he addresses Arjuna as, Krishna as Rishikesha. Rishikesha also means Lord of the senses. So he is the master of our senses. Now, if you look at the picture of the chariot, the 5 horses represent our 5 senses. And the reins that are holding the horses represent the, what do the reins, the 5 horses represent the senses. The reins represent the, told you this before. You remember, you know the picture of the chariot, right? The Krishna Arjuna chariot. 5 horses represent the 5 senses. The reins represent. So far you forgot. What does the reins represent? Huh? The mind. Mind. 5 senses are controlled by the mind. See, this is the order of control. Your 5 senses are controlled by the mind. And who is holding the reins? Krishna. Krishna represents the intellect, the buddhi. So this tells you the order of control. The senses are controlled by the mind. The mind should be ultimately controlled by the intellect. So the intellect will guide the mind and the mind will direct the senses. So if the intellect doesn't control the mind directs the senses will run helter-skelter, right? Because you follow your likes and dislikes. So that's why Krishna is called Rishikesha. He is the Lord of the senses. If you surrender your senses to him, you use your intellect to guide your life, then your chariot will run smoothly on this path. Also, Rishikesha, when we recite the 1,000 names of Vishnu every 31st December here, we recite from 10 to 12 midnight. The 1,000 names of Vishnu is called the Vishnu Sahasranama. So where did this Vishnu Sahasranama come from? You remember that Bhishma Pita was dying on the battlefield, and Yudhishthira approaches him in the Mahabharata when the whole war is over, and he asks Bhishma Pita for some advice. And then that's when Bhishma Pita, recites the 1,000 names of the Lord. So that portion, the Vishnu Sahasranama, comes from that Mahabharata portion, when Bhishma Pita recites the 1,000 names of the Lord. And the 47th name of the Lord in this Vishnu Sahasranama is Rishikesha. So you can also go to YouTube, you key in Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama, you can hear the recitation of all the 1,000 names of the Lord. Okay, so Rishikesha meaning Lord of the senses. So he now bows down to Krishna, Rishikesha, and he says, "Oh Lord, Sthani, it is only reasonable. Now I understand. It is only proper that Tava Prakritya, because of all your glories, because of all your extraordinary glories, that the whole world, Jagat, every person in this world cannot help but Prahashati, get intense joy when they pray to you, when they bow down to you, when they are devoted to you, they experience intense joy. So he says, I can understand that now, that I am also experiencing this level of joy. And he says, I can understand why thousands and millions of people are anurajate, they are attracted to you. Okay. In fact, the word Krishna also means Krishati. Krishati means one who attracts your attention. So he is so loving, the form is so loving, he just attracts our attention. So at the same time, Arjuna says, not everybody bows down to you, not everybody finds happiness in praying to you. Who are the others? Rakshamsi, the Rakshasas, the demoniac people. So who are the demoniac people? Who are the, when you say demoniac people means who do you mean? Anybody but yourself. Everybody else is demoniac, isn't it? See, when here they use the word demoniac, it doesn't mean those only, what do you call this, people in Naraka Lokas, right? The Asuras. But demoniac here also means those who have the 6 qualities. What are the 6 qualities that make a person a demoniac person? Huh? Look at chapter 16. What are the 6 qualities that make a person a demoniac person? Chapter 16, verse 4, page 281. Chapter 16, verse 4, page 281. Hypocrisy, arrogance, pride, anger, harshness, ignorance are the marks of one who is born of demoniacal properties. So a demon is not necessarily one who has 2 horns and a tail, but any human being that has these 6 qualities is a demoniacal person. And therefore, Arjuna says, there are those the demoniac ones, who are Bhitani, they are stricken with fear. Why are they stricken with fear? Because when the time comes for their destruction, when the time comes for their end, for their evil karmas to fructify, that's when they start getting afraid. So when these demoniac people, they keep doing everything and they get more and more success, they trample on people, they destroy people's life, everything is okay. But there will come a time when they have to face their karmas. And that's when they fear. They are Bhitani, they're stricken with fear. And what do? Dravanti Disha, they run in all directions. Now, what does he mean here by run in all directions? If you look at all the stories in the Puranas, all the demons, they try to pray to the Lord to get more power, to get long life, to get eternal life, to protect themselves in every other way they could. Examples are who? Who are the 2 good examples? Ravana and who else? Another very good example. What did Ravana ask for? That he could not be killed by what? By by the gods or by the asuras or the devas, because he thought they are the most strongest. The asura is the most powerful, the devas are the most powerful. So he told Lord, I don't want to be killed by asura or deva. The last thing he expected was Lord will come in the form of a human being, Lord Rama, and kill him. So they try ways and means to get out of it. What did Hiranyakashipu ask for? Even more longer list of things to protect himself. I cannot be killed in the day, I cannot be killed in the night, I cannot be killed outside the building, cannot be killed inside the building. I cannot be killed in the sky, cannot be killed on the land. Everything he tried to cover. But then Lord agreed. He agreed to all his requests. But then he came in the form of Narashima, half man, half lion. So he said, I cannot be killed by man or animal. He came as half man, half animal. I cannot be killed outside or inside. He killed him right at the entrance of the doorstep. I cannot be killed in the morning or night. He killed him at the, what do you call that? Sunset, when it's neither morning nor night. So God kept all his promises, gave him everything, but still ended up killing him. Because he was getting to be very arrogant, very evil, was doing a lot of destruction. So no matter how much the demons try, they try all kinds of things to get away, but ultimately they have to pay for their bad deeds also. So he says, while all these demoniac people are running away in fear, at the same time, he says, Sarva Sangha, Siddha, Sarva Sangha, all these groups of Siddhas, the perfected ones, the saints, what are they doing? They have no fear in them. Namasyanti, they bow down to you in reverence. Okay. So while the Devas and Asuras are scared of you when the time of death comes, the Siddhas, the sages and saints, they are not at all scared of you. They are not scared of death. Okay. So now in the next verse, Arjuna goes on to mention why the Lord is a source of joy for all the devotees. So he says to Lord, Cha Kashmat, for what reason I cannot understand. Na Namiran, why would not all your devotees bow down to you because of your greatness, because of your glory? And he calls the Lord as Mahatman. Mahatman means the greatest one, the supreme self. Okay. So he addresses the Lord now as Ananta, the infinite one. So slowly, the thing is, we must understand here, Arjuna is slowly starting to understand that the person standing in front of him is not just an ordinary superhuman being, Krishna, but he is the supreme Lord himself who has taken this incarnation as Krishna. So he addresses him as Ananta, as the infinite one. Devesha, he is the Lord, he is the Deva of all the Devas. So why is the Lord the Deva of all the Devas? Because all the Devas came after the Lord. Lord is the one who created all these Devas. So Lord is known as the Deva Devesha. He is the Deva of all the Devas. Then he addresses him as Jagan Nivasha, the refuge of all. He is the ultimate refuge. When all the doors are closed, when you cannot find refuge anywhere, Lord becomes our ultimate refuge. He will never let us down. Then he goes on to address the Lord as Gariyashe, you are greater than Brahmano. The word Brahmano here stands for Lord Brahma. He's telling Krishna, you are greater than Lord Brahma. Now, one important thing we must remember here, he is not addressing him as Krishna anymore. Who is he addressing him as? He's not addressing him as Krishna form. Who is he addressing? See, he's addressing him as Ananta, infinite. Whereas Krishna is a finite form. There is a form. But he's telling you are infinite. So who is he addressing here? Is he addressing the Krishna form? He's addressing him as Brahman, as the ultimate unmanifest consciousness. So he's saying you are greater than Brahman. So you all know the difference between Brahma and Brahman, right? Who is Brahma? Brahma is a creator. Where did he come from? Brahma created the whole world. Where did Brahma come from? Huh? From Brahman. Where did Brahman come from? I'm going to ask again. Brahma is the creator. Brahma came from Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate consciousness. Where did Brahman come from? Brahman in the Upanishads is said to be the causeless cause. There is no known cause for his. So we cannot tell where Brahman came from. He is there right from the beginning of creation. So from Brahman came Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. Okay. So here the word Brahmano refers to Lord Brahma. He's telling Krishna, he's addressing Krishna as Brahman, that you are the one who created Lord Brahma, so you are greater than Brahma. Are you all confused or what? Are you okay? You understand? Right? So he is telling Krishna, you are Brahman, you are the creator of Lord Brahma, so you are greater than Brahma. And you are the Adi Kartre, you are the original creator. That means there's nobody higher than you. Okay? You are the ultimate creator. Okay? And at the same time, he addresses Lord as Twam, you are Sat, you are real. At the same time, you are Asat, you are unreal. So again, we have to understand these terms. How is it that the Supreme Being is real and unreal? The word real here means cause. Unreal means effect. So you are the cause and you are the effect also. You are both cause and effect. And you are aksharam, you are imperishable. Imperishable means you don't change in all periods of time. You remain the same at all periods of time. So these are the glorious words that Arjuna will go on expressing. When we come back next week, we will take up from verse 38 and look at the other devotional verses that go on until verse number 40, verse number 44. Okay, so we'll come back next week and resume the class. And with the prayer. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Thank you.